Mr. Nunn for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman and Ranking Member, for holding this very important hearing today. To each of you, look, I represent 87,000 family farms back in Iowa, and we recognize that this is bigger than any single farm, any single bigger community, any single state. This is truly something that is going to impact the entire nation, and we either have the ability to help defend our food and fuel supply, or we have the ability to acquiesce and allow somebody else to fill the void. It's not only a national security threat, but puts us directly dependent on foreign entities on how we feed our families. Now, I know we've been short on time, Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chairman, so I want to get straight to it. We're going to drive like a combine driver with an ice storm coming up during harvest season. I'm going to ask a couple of direct questions. Mr. Wurzel, I feel obligated to come to you first as a fellow Midwesterner here. You have planted corn, soybean. You know this in Illinois, just like here in Iowa. Row crops are a big deal. The importance of access to foreign markets here in the U.S. In your testimony, you highlighted the U.S. is facing its 5th consecutive annual trade deficit. In fact, we're up to about $100 billion now, largest in the world. Mr. Wurzel, what will happen if our corn and soybean farmers fail to pass a farm bill that includes additional MAP and FMD funding?
Well, thank you for the question. As we've emphasized several times, I think the whole panel, the importance of getting that funding for MAP and FMD is crucial in continuing to open up markets and to maintain the relationships with countries that we're current marketing to. So I think that's the one thing that, you know, with a lot of uncertainty around trade, if we can have that as certainty, that will definitely help in putting boots on the ground all over the world.
Critically important. For the last 4 years, we haven't had a single farm trade deal done. I hope we can get more done here in the next 4 months. Look, Mr. Wurzel, you know this. A bushel of corn today runs about $4.90 on a good day. A bushel of soybean, probably about 10 plus. The challenges that we have are these prices are reflective of a severe decline in farm communities. 6th-generation farm kid from Iowa here. This is a deficit 15 years in the making. Had improvements this committee had already passed on a bipartisan basis on last year's farm safety net been implemented for a crop this year, any indication as whether it would have been better or worse as we head into the next year?
So at least the data I've seen, it would have been slightly better for Illinois corn farmers and soybean farmers, not to the magnitude that I think is needed. I really applaud the committee's efforts and members and what they did in the ad hoc program. That was much more substantial, probably at least twice the impact of what we would have seen, but also because the payments were tied to just months later, not tied to a marketing year. That makes a big impact as well. And then because it was tied to planted acres, it really directly affected the costs that we're seeing in the high prices and addressing that issue.
Could not agree with you more. And while it would have been a step in the right direction, I applaud the members on both sides of the aisle in this committee. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to make sure we can make this sustainable going into the future. Ms. Schwarzer, thank you again for your service on this, your family's legacy, directly impacted by our current financial conditions that have been hit this country. Before the end of the year, Congress passed a spending package that included the necessary assistance for our farmers. Did these payments serve as an adequate replacement for the Farm Bill?
No, they do not.
And I would fully agree with you on that. No, they do not. Not a single farmer in Iowa believes that. I'm certain back in Texas it's the same way. Farmers in my district have shared the same sentiment. It's been 7 years since Congress passed a farm bill. 7 years since our farm safety net was updated. Mr. Ritzer, if the farm safety net had been aligned to today's cost, would the ad hoc assistance have been necessary for you?
No, it's not necessary. With adequate farm safety net, that certainly prevents us from needing the ad hoc assistance.
I appreciate that. To everybody's farm district back home, I want to thank you very much for being here. At the end of the year, we were able to get financial emergency assistance out to those farmers, including in my home in Greenfield, Iowa, that got devastated by a tornado, to help get back on their feet. But that is not the solution. We have to have a long-term strategy here to address America's food security. That starts right here in the United States. To all the board or the members on this, I really appreciate your leadership in bringing it forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would yield.